I don't have to outrun the stupid people, I just have to outrun you.
I hate the idea that poor people all have to live the exact same life where they eat beans and rice and instant ramen every day and never splurge on anything and are constantly working and working and working to earn more money.
On your marks.
This really controversial opinion that poor people deserve nice things every once in a while. I think poor people don't have to be constantly suffering and struggling. I don't know why that's controversial, but here we are.
No, Riley, it's not controversial. No one has a problem with charity. Some people do have a problem with pointing guns at other people to pay for it. It's amazing how none of the leftists who try to respond to our points on this address the actual problem that we have with it, the part that's actually in controversy. Gee, I wonder why.
You've probably seen these graphics from Fox News that everyone made fun of a few years ago where they were saying that poor people aren't really poor if they have refrigerators and microwaves.
That's hardly the whole of the argument, Riley. This information comes from multiple analyses stemming from a research paper from economist Robert E. Rector, who specializes in poverty and inequality. Along with Kirk Johnson and Sarah Youssef, he published The Extent of Material Hardship and Poverty in the United States in the journal Review of Social Economy. Contrary to what Riley would have you believe, this is not about certain random items the poor own, but a comprehensive review of the lifestyle of poor people in comparison to all households and also in comparison to other developed countries. It wasn't just durable goods. It was also things like per capita living space, as well as nutrition and the number of missed meals. Not only are they not doing so shabby compared to the average American, they're very much on par and in many ways are better off than average people in developed European nations. The authors concluded, today, the typical American, defined as poor by the government, has a refrigerator, a stove, a clothes washer, a car, air conditioning, a VCR, a microwave, a stereo, and a color TV. He is able to obtain medical care and his home is in good repair and is not overcrowded. By his own report, his family is not hungry, and in the last year he had sufficient funds to meet his essential needs. While this individual's life is not opulent, it is equally far from the popular images of poverty conveyed by politicians, the press, and activists. In the more than 2 centuries of our nation's existence, material living conditions of Americans, including lower-income Americans, have improved enormously. That progress continues today. We have not only triumphed over poverty as it was historically understood, but that triumph has been so great that we have difficulty remembering what it meant to be poor or even to be middle class in earlier generations. That was in 1999, and things for the poor have only improved since then.
Poor people have to be in a constant state of suffering to really be poor. So if they have any kind of nice thing in their life, they're suddenly not poor and shouldn't be allowed to receive any kind of government assistance.
No one said that, Riley. Notice that there's nothing in this report about it being constant. Rector et al. Used 3 criteria for poverty. The individual frequently lacks sufficient food to eat or is significantly undernourished due to an inability to afford or obtain sufficient food. The individual lives in housing that is severely overcrowded, more than 1.5 persons per room, is severely dilapidated, or is unsafe. And the individual has a significant health-impairing medical condition requiring treatment and cannot afford or otherwise obtain medical care. That was the criteria, Riley.
People think they're entitled to morally dictate the lives of welfare recipients.
No, we're just tired of economic ignoramuses like you trying to dictate our lives by taking our money by force to spend it on what you think we should, especially when you don't even understand the economic data or even outright lie about it.
Because technically they're being paid with taxpayer money.
What technically, Riley? They are being paid with taxpayer money. Government welfare of all kinds is aggression funded. Amazing how people like you always want to downplay that. It's very telling, Riley.
I think people just have no concept of what it's like to be poor.
Many of us are poor, Riley. Again, progressives want to pretend like they're the ones for the poor when repeatedly they end up being primarily supported by the rich. The poor are more likely to be conservative or libertarian. Why is that, Riley?
A refrigerator is a pretty basic amenity in the US.
And why would that be? It's not a basic amenity in many other countries. How did that come about? You don't know, do you?
I can imagine like 500 scenarios where someone has a refrigerator and is still struggling financially.
The difference between you and us is, Riley, that we aren't imagining scenarios. We're looking at the actual scenario that poor Americans typically face.
It's not like a fridge is some opulent sign of wealth.
No, it's not. And the reason why it's not is because we have a capitalist system which made it so cheap. It used to be a big luxury item, now it's commonplace among the poor. That's the whole point, and Riley doesn't even see it.
You could easily be living paycheck to paycheck, barely being able to afford your rent and eating instant ramen for dinner every night.
Anyone who's actually read that paper knows that this is not a typical scenario for the American poor.
Things that may have once been luxuries are now relatively accessible.
Yes, thanks to capitalism, and that's the point. You know what? I'm gonna skip the parts where Riley does nothing but spew crap.
Anyways, that's all I had for you today. Thanks so much for watching this.
Oh, wait, sorry, let me back up a bit. But I'm still skipping the parts where Riley bleats on about her oh-so-privileged life, acting like all of her fancy luxuries are necessities, including things that didn't even exist 20 years ago when that analysis was published, while spewing strawman after strawman like we all want the poor to live the same way.
Without counting military personnel, the government employs almost 3 million people. That includes US Postal Service workers, judges, congresspeople, and even the president. So it's weird that we have different standards for poor people being paid by taxpayer money and federal employees being paid by taxpayer money.
Maybe because federal employees are hired to do a job, and we're not just giving them money because reasons?
Maybe instead of worrying if poor people are spending their fixed monthly welfare money on a $2 soda, we could instead worry about Trump's $1 to $3 million trips to his golf course every weekend.
Why can't we do both, Riley? This is a blatant false dichotomy. Here's something to consider, Riley. Government at all levels takes 60% of the national income in taxes. Add to that deficit spending, which results in inflation, the most regressive tax there is, and it easily goes up to 75 or 80%. Add the immense regulatory burden of our government, and it all easily totals 90%. If we didn't have your precious government stealing 90% of our wealth, how many poor people would we even have? How much better off would the poor be if their paychecks went 10 times as far? Think about it. Without your precious government, someone making just $10,000 a year would have the same purchasing power of someone making $100,000 today. Economic data from all over the world show that there's only one real cause of poverty: government.
So yeah, basically it's not your job to tell other people how they spend their money.
Right, it's not! So why are you doing it? You are the one saying where our money should go and what it should be spent on. If you want to help the poor, do it in your own way, and we'll do it in ours. That's something else that always gets ignored by statist morons like Riley: the amount we spend on the poor voluntarily. In fact, according to the OECD, the United States ranks first in voluntary private social spending. And when you consider that, in addition to government spending, America's total support of the poor, public and private, is second only to France, with among the lowest net tax effect in the world. That's better than Denmark, better than Sweden, better than Norway, better than the UK or Canada or any of these. We do take care of our poor, Riley, and when you combine that with the fact that our poor are much better off than the poor and even the middle class in these other countries, we're left with you having nothing to whine about. That's why you had to repeatedly strawman the other side and cherry-pick data and arguments. Because you're wrong, and you know it. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, why not hit like and subscribe? And to make sure I can keep producing content, support this channel by becoming a patron. And check out all the other great content here, like this video selected especially for you.